Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we are embarking on a truly fascinating, character-driven philosophical journey. We're going to explore a 2,500-year-old dialogue known as the Hemavata Sutta. And look, this isn't just some dry, dusty philosophical text. It's actually this epic cosmic narrative featuring celestial guardian spirits, intense skepticism, and honestly, some of the most profound answers to the human condition ever recorded. We're going to unpack the pure attributes of the Buddha, figure out exactly how our subjective world arises, and ultimately learn the ancient strategy for crossing the incredibly treacherous floods of existence. But first, I want to hook you immediately with this profound existential question. Quote, who can swim out of the vast stretch of deep water called samsara? Now, what's really interesting here is that this wasn't just a rhetorical question posed by a modern philosopher. No way. This was asked by a powerful celestial guardian spirit over 2.5 millennia ago. Samsara, if you aren't familiar, represents the endless turbulent cycle of birth, suffering, and death. And this single question really sets the stakes for our entire explainer today. I mean, think about it. If existence itself is a bottomless ocean, how do any of us keep from drowning? To understand exactly how we get the answer to that question, we first need to set the scene. So picture this. It's a mystical setting high over the ancient city of Rajagiri on a bright full moon night. Two powerful Yaka commanders. These are fierce, ancient guardian spirits named Hemavata and Satagiri literally cross paths in the sky. Now, in their past lives, they were actually senior monks who had fallen into some corrupt practices, were filled with remorse, and then were reborn as these powerful but, lower-ranking spirits. So they're roaming the night sky, basically looking for redemption. And on this particular night, something absolutely incredible is happening to the world below them. Satagiri invites his friend Hemavata to just look around. The entire world is miraculously blooming with flowers, completely out of season, and the whole sky is glowing with a celestial light. Why? Well, because, as Satagiri explains, the Buddha has just delivered his very first teaching, the Dhammacakka Sutta, or the Discourse on the Turning of the Wheel of Truth. The sheer magnitude of this event has literally caused the natural world to respond. Satagiri has just come from this momentous gathering, and he's absolutely ecstatic. He's practically begging Hemavata to come with him to see this fully awakened being. But Hemavata, he isn't easily convinced. And this brilliantly sets up a classic Socratic dialogue. Hemavata essentially acts as our skeptical audience surrogate. You have to remember, back then in ancient India, there were plenty of self-proclaimed gurus and totally bogus teachers running around. Hemavata wants proof that this Gautama is the real deal. So he rapid-fires a series of highly specific, probing questions to test if this teacher is truly a genuine Buddha. He's asking things like, is his mind well disposed to everyone? Does he steal? Is he free from lust? It's a rigorous, intense stress test of character. Satagiri steps right up and defends his teacher with absolute confidence, breaking down the Buddha's pure attributes. He states that the Buddha possesses perfect equanimity, meaning he has full, total mental control over both pleasant and unpleasant sensations. He never steals. He is entirely free from harming or killing living beings. He abstains completely from frivolous speech or falsehoods. He literally only speaks what is true and beneficial. And finally, he possesses the all-seeing eye, meaning absolute omniscience, and the ability to see the Dhamma, or true reality, in all its aspects. So the crucial point Satagiri is making here is that the Buddha isn't just another philosopher. He is a being of complete purity and absolute mental mastery. Hearing these steadfast answers, Hemavata's skepticism finally begins to melt away. He is convinced enough to approach the Buddha directly, and when he does, with deep respect, he doesn't mess around asking about trivial matters. He goes straight for the heaviest, most profound mystery of existence. He asks, how does a living being arise? What does the world of beings have as company? To what is it attached? Right? It's the ultimate existential question of how our reality, our deeply subjective world, actually comes into existence in the first place. To answer Hemavata, the Buddha introduces a crucial foundational concept, salayatana, or the 6 sense bases. The Buddha explains that a living being, or the subjective world as you and I experience it, arises entirely dependent on these 6 sense bases. In other words, your entire universe, everything you know, feel, and experience, is constructed right here through these 6 specific gateways. The teaching is literally, where the six are, the world is. So let's break those down. We're talking about the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and the mind. These six bases are constantly interacting with their respective external objects: sights, sounds, odors, tastes, touches, and thoughts. And the Buddha explains that these bases act as a constant, gripping snare. We are constantly in the company of these six, and we are incredibly attached to them. Because they are incessantly interacting with the outside world, they create this continuous, uninterrupted stream of experiences that we just cling to. Now let's connect this ancient concept to our modern lives for a second. The Buddha explains that beings suffer precisely because they attempt to satisfy these six sense spaces. I mean, think about it. Our constant, everyday craving for beautiful sights, the newest captivating sounds, or even just the endless scrolling and consumption of digital information to feed the mind with new thoughts and distractions. We are constantly striving to get pleasant things, and if we get them, we strive to keep them from decaying. But because everything is impermanent, this endless pursuit inevitably leads to suffering, anxiety, and just deep dissatisfaction. We are exhausting ourselves trying to feed senses that can never, ever be permanently satisfied. Realizing the gravity of this whole situation, Hemavata loops back to ask that profound question we saw at the very beginning. How do we actually escape this? The Buddha answers by introducing another incredibly powerful concept, oga, meaning the floods. The Buddha uses this terrifying metaphor to describe existence. Samsara isn't just a physical place, it's an endless, bottomless, rushing river that sweeps living beings away. When you are caught in the pursuit of the senses, you aren't just walking a difficult path, you are literally drowning in a raging current with absolutely nothing to hold on to. Specifically, there are four treacherous currents, known as the agas. First up is the flood of sensuality. This is the daily current of craving pleasant sights, sounds, and physical comforts, which drags us into unwholesome actions just to maintain them. Second, we have the flood of existence. This is the deep craving for eternal life or higher realms, which, ironically, only traps us in a longer but still impermanent cycle of rebirth. Third is the flood of wrong views. This means holding on to mistaken beliefs, like relying on mere rituals for salvation, which basically just keeps us swimming in circles. And fourth, the flood of ignorance. Not knowing the Four Noble Truths, which is the underlying massive undercurrent that feeds all the others. Every single one of these floods pulls us under and traps us in an endless cycle of striving and suffering. So the big question is, who can survive this? Well, the Buddha gives Hemavata this direct, striking answer. Quote, "One whose morality is pure and complete, whose concentration is firm, who notes the physical and mental phenomena without fail, and who is wise, can swim across the stream of samsara, which is very difficult to cross." Notice what he's saying here. He doesn't say you need a magical boat. He doesn't promise divine intervention. He says the strength to swim out of this seemingly bottomless sea of existence comes entirely from within, through a very specific set of cultivated skills. These internal skills build into a highly practical, step-by-step path. The Buddha lays out 3 sequential steps for successfully crossing the floods. Step 1 is morality, or sila. This is absolutely foundational. You must have pure behavior and ethical conduct. Otherwise, the waters are just too turbulent to even begin swimming. Step 2 is concentration, or samadhi. This is achieved by constantly noting physical and mental phenomena, steadying the mind so it isn't swept away by all those endless distractions. And finally, step 3 is wisdom, or panna. This is the deep, piercing insight that realizes the impermanence of all things, allowing you to finally break free from the currents of ignorance. When someone actually perfects these 3 steps, they reach the ultimate goal. The Buddha explains that the arahant, the fully awakened individual who has overcome all fetters and desires, never drowns again. By completely freeing themselves from the endless cravings of the 6 sense bases, they escape the turbulent cycle of rebirth entirely. They don't just survive the flood, they remain perfectly afloat in a state of unshakable bliss, completely untouched by the raging waters of samsara. And this profound explanation, it's the turning point of the whole story. We conclude our narrative arc right here. Hemavata's initial, intense skepticism has entirely transformed into deep, unshakable devotion. Realizing the sheer magnitude of the Buddha's wisdom, Hemavata and his retinue of 1,000 guardian spirits officially take refuge in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. Through this ancient, rigorous dialogue up in the moonlit sky, these once corrupt monks turned spirits finally found their redemption and the dawn of their own enlightenment. Which brings us to our final thought today, and a question I really want to leave you with. Because the Buddha's teaching to Hemavata wasn't just for some celestial spirit 2,500 years ago. It is a direct mirror held right up to us today. The 6 sense bases are still constantly demanding our attention. The 4 floods of craving, existence, wrong views, and ignorance, they are raging all around us every single day, pulling at our time, our energy, and our peace of mind. So as you go back to your day, ask yourself, the floods of samsara are raging. How strong is your swimming? Are you just treading water, or are you actually building the focus and wisdom to finally reach the shore?